Welcome to this episode of It's Not You, but Sometimes It Is, the podcast that explores real challenges with real awesome leaders, where we have straight talk about challenges we've faced and the wisdom we've gained. Today's episode is with Guy Ellison with Kitty Hawk Energy. Loved this conversation with Guy. He is this big wig in oil and gas who's one of the biggest hearted executives I have had the honor of speaking with. Shares a lot of really insightful wisdom with that sweet Southern heart. So I hope you enjoy this episode. All right. Well, welcome, Guy, to the podcast. So excited to have you here. I think you have a lot of wisdom to share with us. So thank you for giving us your time and attention today.
Hey, thanks, Meg. And I appreciate you having the confidence in me to go ahead and help with this podcast.
Well, this is one of those podcasts where I love straight talk from people who clearly have a lot of wisdom and who have demonstrated a lot of excellence out there in the world. So really looking forward to a conversation. And can you start, Guy, by getting us oriented to your company and the problems you solve?
I don't know if we solve so many problems as we come up with solutions.
Okay.
I like to look at it as a solution to things that happen when you're doing business. You know, not so much a problem, although problems are stepping stones, they get you to certain levels. But I think it's very important to have solutions. The company right now is going through a transition. We're kind of morphing into a different company, if you will, because what I've done is create a synergy, a marriage between myself and some of the guys at the office that are geoscientists, geophysicists, engineers, not real good at marketing their prospects. Well, I've taken all their prospects and I'm starting a marketing program right now. We just started doing some work on LinkedIn. I've written a couple of podcasts, and I'm stretching. And that's where the company is. We're stretching. So it's very exciting for me. I enjoy working with people. I've gone back over my old contact lists and just kind of rekindled some relationships. So it's helping me get out of myself, go to different conferences, do this podcast with you, Meg, and do different things in my life that allow me to grow.
Awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like you found this really cool, unique opportunity and you're stepping out there, taking some risks and stretching, which is usually how those really cool stories start, right?
Right.
And a lot of cool stuff in your life. So let's talk about that for a second. What was your path to running your own business, becoming an executive? You have been in senior leadership roles for decades. So give us a quick idea of kind of your path, what shaped it, and what led you to here.
Well, I was born in Missouri. My dad went to the Missouri School of Mines in Raleigh. And we moved around a lot. He was in the oil, he was with Stanley, which is now morphed into British Petroleum. But I first got started in bagging core samples on drilling rigs, with him, and he'd write down the depth that we took these sediments from. And then they go back to the office and they've got a bunch of scientists, paleontologists, that actually define the foraminifera, like Notoceria blandpedi or Margellana vaginata, different things that they would describe the cores with. And then from there, we moved around to Shreveport and finally got into Lafayette, and that's where I grew up. I went to high school here and college, and went to college at LSU as well. But I think a lot of that really helped me being able to move around 4 or 5 different locations and see a little bit more of the world. That really started it for me. And I just kind of fell in. After I got out of college, I was married. I didn't have a job, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had done some land work during my tenure working with my dad. So a friend of mine called me up and said there's this big trend play going on called the Tuscaloosa trend, and natural gas had been deregulated, so
Okay.
the price could go up to $9, $10 a thousand instead of a buck, or $2. So it was a big deal. Got started there. Um, got paid $50 a day plus my expenses. But I did get an override on all the leases I bought, and I got $25 an acre. And I bought a lot of leases, so I made money. I raised my family on that.
Hmm.
In 1980, the trend had kind of diminished, and I decided I was going to form a company, and I was going to go around and take deals and sell them for people and operate them, drill them. And I got started like that, and from there it was just like I really didn't think about it, Meg. It wasn't a design so much as there was so much excitement and enjoyment in the process, and that's where the dopamine comes, and that's where you get excited about things. It's in the process. It's not the task. I went on to work with many talented people. I found a new field in Alabama. I was instrumental in getting the first horizontal Austin chalk well drilled in the state of Louisiana. So there's a lot of milestones in my life. And the last 4 or 5 years have been kind of slow. I've been kind of searching for something to do. And when I came upon this opportunity to create synergies with Kitty Hawk and develop these prospects and get them drilled, it kind of pushed my button.
Hmm.
So that's where we are today.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a long history of being really good at seeing the opportunities, and getting excited about it.
Yes.
Um, so as you have been in these exciting endeavors and leading high performing teams and taking these big risks, right? And trying to
Right.
get business momentum going, tell me about one of the hardest things you've been through that was maybe unexpected, and how did you overcome it?
That's a good question. Um, I talked about discovering the field in Alabama. It was close to Gulf Shores, about 3 or 4 miles from Gulf Shores, actually, back in the early 90s. And we drilled the first well, and the guys that were working on the rig, they were young, 19, 20, and they actually dropped something in the hole. And when you get something in the hole that you can't retrieve, you call it a fish. So I had to get a consultant fly over from Lafayette, a friend of mine. He was actually in the well, and we pushed the fish to bottom. Ran our drill pipe back in there and pushed the fish. So we got that taken care of. Well, the second well, these guys wanted to stay on the beach, these 19, 20-year-olds. They wanted to hang around. And these wells only took about a week to drill.
Okay.
So we moved over to drill number two, and it blew out. I got a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, "Hey, man, you better get over here. We've had a blowout." I said, "Oh my God." Got over there. The rig was melted, laying over, had about 8 inches of sand everywhere. The well had actually bridged over, Meg. In other words, it healed itself. So this was 3:30, 4 o'clock. About 6:30 or 7 o'clock, I see the head of the oil and gas board walking up, Ernest Mancini, and he's got two of his board members. Okay. I'm going, oh my, how am I going to overcome this? And I tell you what I did. I told him, I said, "Hey, this is really awkward. Mr. Mancini, it's very awkward for me, and I just want to be vulnerable to you. I'm the operator of the well. It's my responsibility. If there's anything that you need me to do immediately, I'm prepared to do that." So that was the way I really accomplished overcoming that large problem.
Yeah.
There were many others involved in that whole process, but that was
Right.
one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you're at the head, when you're at the helm, right? You're the
Right.
one whose butt is on the line. And it sounds like you figured out really quickly how to develop trust and use
Yes.
vulnerability to your advantage. Love it.
Mhm.
So there's this famous expression that culture eats strategy for breakfast. We have all these great plans and goals, and then it's the people side of things that can slow us down, trip us up, create drama, unexpected friction, all kinds of stuff. So, do you have any examples of that in your experience where you were developing and leading these high performing teams in frankly exciting but kind of high risk environments?
I asked my father growing up, I said, Dad, how do you define success? And he said, Guy, you need to surround yourself with good people. And I've always tried to do that in all my affairs. And I find that when I'm in collaboration with people that are very talented, it makes all of us genius.
Yeah.
We come together as a group and we can do tremendous things. Now, sometimes you've got some people in there, while they're very brilliant, they're reticent about helping, or they have demands that are just unreasonable in the process. And I've had to fire some of those people, let them go.
Yeah.
And it's tough. I mean, you're talking about turning loose a 50-year-old man or woman that's got a degree in engineering or geology, and they've been working for 25 or 30 years. And you say, look, I know you're good at this, but this isn't the environment for you. This is not where you fit. And that's the only way I can explain it. But here again, when you find the right people, you've got to pay them well. You've got to include them in all the decisions. And if you do that, you'll be able to keep them.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. I think they say that everything we needed to know, we learned in kindergarten, right? Like be kind and include people, help them feel included, make sure you've got the right people involved in the right teams. And yet it's really easy for some dysfunction, friction to slip in when you hire someone that's not a great fit for whatever reason. Sounds like you were good at being intentional and kind of sniffing that out. And there's a lot of brilliant people who are really dysfunctional. You've probably heard like there's some companies now saying we no longer suffer brilliant jerks. It's kind of this thing, right? The brilliant jerk cultural phenomenon where you may be able to contribute a lot with your mind, but your soft skills suck so bad we can't suffer you anymore. And you learn that pretty early.
Right.
Yeah.
The bad apples.
Yeah. So what do you think? Let's go to some of those bad apples. Let's talk about that for a second. What do you think really makes a bad boss or a bad leader? What makes someone a bad leader? And then do you think that bad bosses are fixable in your experience? Do you have to get rid of them or what do you do to fix it?
Well, first thing I try to do is, like I said earlier, when I had the accident over there in Alabama, you have to be vulnerable. They have to know that they can share with you anything, and then you can share with them anything. And I don't think there's any such thing as a bad boss. You just mentioned it. People are inept at people's skills.
Yeah.
Mama taught us to be kind and treat everybody like we wanted to be treated. But over a lifetime of running into brick walls or getting run down or just whatever the things in your life that create stress or dysfunction, you bring that with you. So you have to find a way as the boss or whoever's running it is to say, hey, look, I see your skill set and I see you weak in these areas. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not trying to step on your toes, but is there a way that we can, try to fix this, try to ameliorate this in our day-to-day operations with the other people? And I think that's how you get around being a bad boss, and you try to be a good boss and mentor people.
Yeah. It sounds like you have taken some of that Southern wisdom of being really wise with people and using empathy to put yourself in the shoes of someone who's struggling as a leader and be able to just talk with them about it from a place of compassion. I love the way that you phrase that. Like, hey, I don't want to step on your toes, but I'm seeing this. I think it might be holding you back. Because it really is just a lack of skill.
It's real important too, Meg. When you're doing that one-on-one, they have to have a tremendous amount of trust because they have to know whatever they say in there is not leaving there. What you say here stays here.
Yep.
That's tantamount to developing that relationship with someone.
Yeah. So, Guy, you're kind of this bigwig in the oil industry with a big heart who's figured out how to get people to trust him and really be open with you so that you can support them better.
That's exactly right. Couldn't
Yeah.
have said it better.
Well, that's pretty brilliant. I can tell you've been leading a lot of people for a long time.
Mhm.
So as you look forward with this new exciting opportunity that you've grabbed a hold of, what do you see as far as changes in your team over the next 5 years or so that are going to help you and everyone to be super successful with this new endeavor?
I think one of the main concerns I have, see, we're in a different marketplace in a whole different environment here in South Louisiana. In North Louisiana, they're drilling the Haynesville, and it's all slant drilling, horizontal drilling. They're drilling out 3 miles, laterals and fracking. Down here, it's conventional geology, straight hole geology, some high angle holes, but basically there's not fracking. We've got reservoirs that flow. And my biggest concern is in 5 years, who's going to be doing the geology here? Most of the people that I've come up, all the guys of my dad's ilk are gone. They're all passed away. I used to be able to walk around in the oil center with my logs and my maps and sell an oil deal on the spot, handshake, and everybody was generating deals. I see a lot of my friends now, they're all kind of not doing anything. And I look at them, I say, how can you not do anything? This is such an exciting industry, So that's one of the concerns I have is not only attracting young new talent, but finding it. In fact, Harold Hamm with Continental Resources is offering scholarships. They're looking for geologists. They can't find enough of them. And
Wow.
I think he's got the right idea, you know, when
Yeah,
it
yeah,
comes to that. So, there'll be some. You just got to find them. And right now is a great time too, because let's face it, it's slowed down here. The drill. We got one rig drilling in South Louisiana.
Hmm.
We got about 8 or 9 completions waiting on completion rigs, but we only have one well drilling.
Hmm.
The opportunity here is phenomenal. The fields we have some of the most prolific fields in America right here in South Louisiana. They're being left abandoned, and our team with Kitty Hawk and myself with Ultra Energy, we're starting to develop these, going back in these old fields, taking 3D, having it reprocessed, finding new reservoirs, and that's just so much excitement there. So I'm going to be looking for people, and that's going to be a big part of my job, looking for people that can come in and supplant the people as they move out, fill the spaces.
Right.
But
Yeah, I think talent talent does seem to be the big battle right now. I don't like to frame it as a battle, but that is how we feel when we're competing, and talent is going to be our differentiator. Finding high skilled people who are attracted to the mission and the opportunity that we have. I hear that from a lot of executives. And what strategies have you found in the past to get creative about finding and retaining high skilled talent?
uh, you got to take that puzzle piece and you got to put it in the right part of the puzzle. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
You've got to look at their talents, talk to them. Hey, are you making a difference? Do you think you're making a difference in this organization working in this particular skill set?
Mm.
This basin, would you be rather working someplace else in the state or anywhere along the Gulf Coast? Would you like to be prospecting in Texas? Yada, yada, yada. Where are your strengths? And the biggest part of that is putting them in that position where they feel like they're making a difference. Because if you've got somebody that doesn't feel that way,
Mm-hmm.
you're never going to get the desired result. It just won't happen.
I love how simple you make that, right? Like you, as a leader in a business, you've got to see the puzzle and get really clear, right? About the pieces, the talent, how it's all going to fit in, and then have really direct and honest conversations with people, right? About are you able to make the difference that you want? Do you feel valued? Um, you make it sound so simple, Guy.
I
So
try.
yeah. So my last question, when you look at the team that you have surrounding you over the next 5 years to really leverage this opportunity, what kind of a culture, what kind of attitudes and beliefs and guiding principles do you think the company is going to need to really get you there?
Oh, it's a great question. I've thought about that quite a bit. Uh, there's different parts and you must integrate them. Okay. So I've got the scientific part,
Mhm.
geologists, geophysicists, engineers. Then I've got the land piece where I have land people going out, buying leases, running title, preparing locations to be drilled. And inside the engineering piece, I'm taking bids on locations, on turnkey bids if we can get them for drilling wells. But then the back channel to all of that, as an investor, I want him to be able to come in and he'll have his own account. He'll have his Ultra account. He can go into his bank account. He will be able to look at the progress of his investment at any time. It'll be a snapshot, real-time photograph. He'll be able to see when payout occurs, if he's making any money.
Mhm.
Let him determine if he wants to continue with the program or not.
Okay.
And I think you're going to have a great bank. You're going to have people within the bank. We're talking about talent that know how to do those things and set them up and make sure there's not any slips. You're going to have a great accounting firm to help you out with this, CPAs, because uh, drilling these wells, there's a thing called depletion allowance, which is you get 15% of your income's tax free, which is a great tax benefit. The other thing's called IDC, intangible drilling cost, which is approximately 70% of the cost of drilling the well. Mud, labor, fuel, all those sorts of things. So if you're drilling a $2 million well, you're able to write off $1.4 million in the first year, bottom line on your 1099. And
Mhm.
that's based on your percentage, but that's incredible. So you've got to have people that can weave through that, through the tax laws, through the accounting, through the banking, through the scientific. And that is the challenge to do that seamlessly.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
It
the challenge.
it sounds like you have really different disciplines, expertise, and backgrounds that all
Right.
need to come together and understand each other and work seamlessly together from engineers, land people, drilling, legal, finance, everyone coming together to create this well-oiled machine.
Exactly.
No pun intended on the oil.
No, no, it is a well-oiled machine. And I think they all have to know that at the end of the day, it's about the investor.
Okay.
They're putting up money and they're relying upon us and trusting us to be good servants with their money.
Hmm. Yep.
And I think they have to know that, and you have to preach that
Mhm.
repeatedly.
Yep. So getting that alignment. Everyone's
Right.
contributing a really important piece, but we're all rowing in the same direction with a clear North
Yeah.
Star. Yeah.
What's like a spud meeting? When you have a spud meeting, all the disciplines come together in a big conference room, and we're getting ready to drill the well. Okay, we make a gas well. Where are we putting the gas? Who's taking the gas? Where's the take point? Do we have to hot tap the line? Okay. Do you have all the location bids in? Well, the other part of that is all the in-use stuff, as we just talked about, the accounting, the banking, and all that.
Mhm.
So I like to bring them all together. I want everybody to sit in the room, know each other, and know what their job responsibilities are.
Right. Right. Love it. And some of the more traditional approaches to leadership, especially at that executive level, is we've got all these little silos in the business, right? And everyone reports up to me, but I'm going to solve all the problems and I'm going to be responsible in that seat that's going to look at how everyone's working together rather than bringing them together and allowing them to problem solve together and really have shared ownership of the problem. It sounds like for some reason you have defaulted to a much more progressive approach to leadership where people are included, things are transparent, and we're all solving problems together.
Well, if you're the boss, you've got to be inclusive. You've got to involve everybody. So you're not sitting in the back office and you're my GIS guy or girl, and you're drawing these maps, and you don't know what they're for and where they're going and what they do and what part they play in the overall scheme of things. So I think it's very important to do that. And I think if you can do that, it'll help when you're doing a top drive responsibility out to your bosses
Mm-hmm.
in the different disciplines within the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Guy, what parting advice would you give to other younger leaders in your industry?
Uh, well, the guys that are here in the Gulf Coast and drilling conventional wells, don't give up. I talk to so many people that have, tossed in the towel. There's a lot more oil and gas to be found, Meg. And with the advent of AI, this is going to be a tremendous tool to help us find those hidden jewels in those old prolific fields that have been abandoned. Demand for electricity, which 40% of the electricity in this country comes from natural gas because it's reliable, it's affordable, you can regulate it, turn it off and on when you need it. So the electrical demand, they think by the year 2030 for AI is going to be equivalent to what Japan uses every year, if you can imagine that. So don't give up. The price of natural gas is going to go up. We're the number one exporter in the world. We're going to continue to get contracts, build new facilities. I think this permitting process is going to take a whole fast track approach under the new administration. I think the deals are going to be made. Don't take counsel of your own fears and think because of the depressed price, I'm not going to do anything. I guess that would be my advice.
I love it. I love it. It sounds like you've really got that higher 20,000 foot view where even though, yes, it's challenging and there's some things pitted against us, the opportunity far outweighs the challenge.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Again, Andy Warhol, he said, painting is just like a business. And it's a good business is when I make money doing it. And that's when I'm in the creative process. I'm not thinking about the task and finishing the Campbell soup can. I'm thinking about what it takes to paint that, create that, and that's where the real rush is. It's not okay, there's a lot of excitement when you find oil and gas, but the creative process, going through that, mapping it, bringing in the different disciplines to figure out that you do have a prospect and it's worth drilling, that's where all the excitement is. And I think these guys are missing out in that realm in their lives when they don't, keep hunting.
Love it. Love it. That's a lot of wisdom. So, Guy, thank you so much. It's been a joy to have you on the podcast.
Thanks,
And
man.
yeah, I guess one last question for you as
Sure.
we close out. Um, when things do get tough and it seems like everything's pitted against you, what have you personally found to be able to help you get through those hard times? I think we've all had the valleys. So personally, what has it taken for you to be able to still lift up and keep trying?
Uh, you have to have a spouse. I think you have to be willing to humble yourself and get down on your knees and just give it up. You have to be vulnerable in your life and say, hey, look, this is bad. Don't feel that it's a stigma let's just say you were drilling like some of these guys have gone bankrupt several times. Uh, yeah, they're down. They're beat up. They're just want to throw in the towel, but they get up. That is success. When you get knocked down 20 times, but on the 21st time, you still stand up again. That's success. And that's what I try to do. And it's hard sometimes because you get trapped in your own mindset of, oh God, this is a horrible disaster. What am I going to do? I've always found oil and gas. I've always found money. And I think there's a lot of stuff to be said about karma and your attitude and how you relate to people and the world in general. Your outlook in the world means everything to me.
That is one heck of a mic drop. Thanks again.
Okay.